Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another cast done by Diggity on behalf of StarCastTV. Upper right hand corner we have none other than Soulkey, starting as the white Zerg. Bottom left hand corner we've got Sharp, starting as the teal Terran. This could be a very exciting one because you have Sharp, and I expect it to go to the mid game because you have Soulkey, who's just, out of all of, really Soulkey and Soma, as far as the defensive Zergs, I think are the supreme. Soma, I think, a little bit stronger on his defenses, but Soulkey is honestly no slouch himself. Sometimes he can sneak even the single sunken colony in defense with his extremely strong Mutalisk micro. He can plow through a lot of Terrans with his 2-hatch Mutalisk openers. But more often than not, he triggers for the mid game. Sharp is also one of those players that I feel like, yeah, he can go for busts, but he's one of those guys who plays more of a smothering mid-game style versus Zerg when I've seen him play, and I'm kind of interested to see what the combination of those two styles results in, where you've got Soulkey with that extremely strong, abusive Mutalisk harassment, which oftentimes allows him to get those advantages in the early game and try to play a smothering macro style from there, versus Sharp, who is just fantastic at map control, is really, really good at getting himself in good mid-game macro positions as well. So the question now is, who will be stronger at getting through that early stage and minimizing damage? I mean, that's true of every TvZ, but it's basically, I feel like this is at the highest levels of that. And I really think there's no argument given the quality of these two players. Anyway, 11 hatch on one side. This is on a 2-player map, very early SCV scout. Rather than keeping an interior to base, we do have a little bit of a gap there, potentially. I assume the barracks will be, we'll see if it gets lifted off and dropped back down, and the other supply depot gets dropped on top if there's going to be another style of construction on the front. SV sneaking in, drone blockading the ramp, but not quite able to stop that SCV from sneaking in. Does manage to at least inflict 15 damage. Spawning pool down, a little bit of a later extractor at 211 rather than at the 207, which would have been a little bit of a faster push towards that extractor. And seeing that from Soulkey, I'm almost wondering whether that indicates we're going to see a 2.5 hatch, or maybe even some sort of different style play. I haven't seen this one before. I've seen the double supply depot and then the barracks on top, but I don't think I've ever seen the double supply depot along that left-hand edge, interestingly enough. But Sharp setting up to go ahead and go, and it looks like he's gonna, after seeing that 11 hatch, I should say, he's gonna go ahead and skip the initial Marine and drop that command center. A little bit of damage inflicted on that first SCV that was dealing with that drone on the corner. Drone moving out to go ahead towards that 12 o'clock location. This looks like it's going to be a very rapid third hatchery. Yeah, third hatchery, maybe even before the first Zerglings. Yeah, third hatchery before we see any Zerglings out on the field at the 12 o'clock location. So I'm almost wondering if the Mutalisks are going to forego. So first of all, let's see if we see a Mutalisk build together. I assume we will. But secondarily, I'm wondering if the Mutalisks are even going to attempt to engage in a harassment. I've seen some Zerg recently, rather than sending those Mutalisks out to go inflict economic damage, utilizing them more to keep an eye. It looks like that hatchery confirmed by Sharp. More utilizing them to try to whittle down the medic marine forces and keep an eye on their positioning out on the field to drop those sunken colonies last second. And when I've seen that style played, this will be the indicator, is when they're starting to be movement, you'll see the sunken colonies on front, but not yet morphed. When I've seen that in the past. And so what they'll do is they'll try to save that little bit of minerals and only morph them if it's absolutely necessary, if the Mutalisks are not able to hold back the medic marines. Now, this particular style could be very, very strong against Sharp, because Sharp oftentimes isn't looking for busts. Again, he's looking at, when I've seen him play, he's usually more looking to establish early game dominance. It looks like we've got a engineering bay here in the background going for that +1 weapons. We've got the academy behind it. So it looks like this is going to be a 5 racks opener. Overall, flood of Marines from there. But again, usually he's going for earlier science vessels, positional control, and they're just playing macro smothering from there, tax the gas, as it were. We are seeing a tech delay, about 2/3 finished. SCV still hanging out in that corner. It looks like the first 4 Zerglings. Ooh, actually a larger grouping of Zerglings out right this second. So we do see a full 8. SCV looks like it's going to get swarmed and taken out at that 12 o'clock location. It's going to be a minute before. So Sharp is building some medics here, but he doesn't have the additional factory flood as of yet to really apply pressure on that front. So these Zerglings are going to have to wait outside the exterior of the base. That Overlord has confirmed, and I think this was just in anticipation of maybe a 2-Rax push. Sees the first medic here, and I'm wondering if Sharp actually built that first medic more as a... Well, we're actually seeing a fire bat. Interesting. So we're seeing 3 barracks to follow rather than the standard 5 flood, but we're also seeing a fire bat on the front, and I'm almost wondering if this is a mind game from Sharp. He's going to show the fire bat to give an indication as though he was going for a front door bust, maybe to try to force some sunken colonies at various locations. Spire is actually being built at the 3rd, and we have a Hydralisk Den at the main. So yeah, definitely seeing some less than typical play from both sides. Firebat single medic. This is very unusual moving out. The Zerglings spotting it, looking and kind of swarming around it. The initial Mutalisks are going to be a ways away. Interesting off-timing push. And do we see additional... No, this is going to be 4 barracks. So it's not 5 barracks, but it's going to be an early +1 still off 4 barracks. A lot of Zerglings have taken the field to surround this, but that Firebat, depending on positioning, could punch through this. Yeah, able to get a good surround, taking out that Firebat very, very early, but the Zergling's still going to get cleaned up by the 2 Marines and the medic pinned in that corner. However, this does buy time to go ahead and get the Mutalisk, and we do have that preventative sunken colony already out at both locations. Sharp able to take out that Overlord over that cliffside edge. Actually very important that he was able to preserve this medic, but 3 gas just now being established now from Soulkey overall. Again, not opting to utilize, this would be a very late Mutalisk harass if he was engaging with Mutalisk overall, but now starting to send out those Mutalisks to, again, try to keep track of that army, maybe whittle it down, punch, get some damage down. Keep in mind, he does have this Hydralisk Den behind here as well. He's starting to more Flurker tech. I'm curious if he's going to go for +1 weapons along the side of this. It looks like no +1 weapons more. Engaging some, at least taking a look at the natural expansion, now moving in, able to get 1 SCV, but backing off otherwise. But this is allowing that Medic Marine army that again has +1 weapons to push dangerously close to that natural expansion. Additional creep colonies being established. Now outside Soulkey's main, he's also dropping a Queen's Nest in front. I actually don't like that Queen's Nest at that position. I've seen canceling it right there, and I think that was mostly to provide maybe a defensive buffer, but the Mutalisk's able to encroach up, maybe feeling like this wasn't a large enough. I always wonder what the calculation is from both players to be able to say like, okay, this is going to be sufficient to bust my front door or not. Looks like he's going to redrop that Queen's Nest a little bit closer. And that'll keep, again, that'll make it a little bit harder to get full purchase for those Medic Marines on those sunken colonies behind. Some Zerglings flooding out to the north. It looks like there's a second Medic Marine ball with only a single medic right there. Soulkey's still trying to test it. He hasn't really gotten any kills overall in Sharp's force. Sharp has a healthy supply lead. Some Zerglings now getting caught to the north. I worry about this 12 o'clock location. You have double sunken colony up there. That's getting comsat. Let's see if the Lurker moves into position to go ahead and morph with that Lurker tech. Lurker tech is finished, so now that's going to get repelled on the front, but there's still no Lurkers here at the natural expansion to help defend, and it looks like a fourth creep colony being dropped to maybe get a 4th sunken colony up, and Sharp now diving in. Again, that Queen's Nest in the way, and you can see it's absorbing a lot of damage on that attack move. The Zerglings coming in, and the Mutalisk is trying to do what they can from the south, and I don't think this is going to work out for Sharp. Now we have 2 Lurkers that have spawned, so he gets 1 sunken colony, but doesn't get a lot else, and expended a good amount of his forces to do so. So now Sharp has a Zerg that has 3 gas up. He does have the position he's already seeing a tech to hive now, but he didn't lose a lot of Medic Marines. His economy wasn't very, hasn't been touched either. He hasn't gone for the 4 factories. It looks like he's got the double starport behind this. He's got that science facility up, but he's going to need to get science vessels up in a hurry, because right now Soulkey has, first of all, he didn't build a lot of Mutalisks in the mid game. He just didn't need to, and that's what I love about Soulkey's style of play. I love the Queen's Nest getting tacked against this, but it's not needed anymore. There's no there's no switch to mech for Sharp, so he doesn't have to worry about Queens down the line. So it's just, he's happy to go ahead and let that get damaged. Hive about halfway finished, as long as that's not a force cancellation. Evolution Chamber now being built to the 12 o'clock location. More Marines being pushed to the front. Some Lurkers burrowing along some additional locations and pushing that Medic Marine army a little bit further back. Where did looks like maybe that Lurker was canceled at the 12 o'clock location. So that 12 o'clock location, ooh, it looks like the Lurkers might have moved from that 12 o'clock for a flank position, maybe to cut off reinforcements here. This could be an interesting trap. And I'm wondering if those will hold, these might be hold position Lurkers as well. So Sharp might end up losing his army here. Oh, right on top of it. Is he gonna, okay, there we go. Great play, wipes out that medic marine force, and now Soulkey all of a sudden has a completely open map. Some dropships have been constructed in between here, but that skip of science vessels means this really needs to land and do a significant amount of damage. Actually, the Queen's Nest still stands. I was gonna say maybe if they take out the hive, it would be worse than usual. Defiler Mound about halfway complete. The Mutalisk somewhat out of position to help engage against this. It's at a larger number, but now the dropships moving into the natural expansion, and this is with Soulkey completely out of position. 2 Scourge making their way up, able to get one of the dropships, but only Zerglings there to defend in small numbers. Overlord's now getting picked off. The Hydralisk Den at risk. The Mutalisks have now made their way up. 3 drones down. Overlord picked off as well, and the Medic Marine's going to go ahead and try to interrupt that gas on top of everything else. It looks like the Mutalisks are going to be sufficient to finish things off. I don't know if that was enough. So yeah, a little bit of economic disruption at the front, but if you look at the supply count, there's actually a supply lead to Soulkey overall. Looks like there's also a lurker that was just being annoying. Comsat being dropped to trying to clean it up in the 9 o'clock location. Sharp wanting to maybe grab an additional expansion there. A 5th and 6th barracks being constructed. The first science vessels now moving out. But I'm starting to worry that this might be too little too late. Carapace 1 on the way. Macro hatches. Wow, 3 macro hatches being dropped in the main for Soulkey. Feeling very comfortable in his position. Defiler Mound consumed, just about finished. We do have a Defiler out on the front, and that should be sufficient to go ahead and defend that location. We have a Nidus Canal at a very close reinforcement point, so if Medic Marines get caught between the 12 o'clock and the natural expansion, honestly, they could end up getting wiped out very rapidly with a Lurker Lynx around, so Sharp is going to have to play this very, very carefully. He is getting that 9 o'clock base established for himself, but he still has not done a lot to tax Soulkey's gas at this stage, and that gas has been mounting for quite a bit of time. An easy transition to Lurkers, or sorry, I should say easy transition to late game tech, tier 3 into Defilers, maybe even, we'll see if it transitions to Hydralisk Plague. It'll depend on the upgrades. We see Carapace for sure right there. I don't know if we got the Spines upgrade yet or not. Mutalisks making their way out, find an SCV, going to be able to take that out at the Wandering location. Want to click on, no, we don't see +1 Spines being upgraded as yet. If we see that +1, yeah, +1 Spines, it looks like this is going to be a transition to Hydra Plague here in the late game. Mutalisks moving across there, no turrets to help defend. We do have 2 science vessels here. First Irradiate dropped. Not the best split for Soulkey, eating a lot of damage right there, but is able to preserve some good amount of Mutalisks otherwise. Lurkers on the high ground. So 1 Overlord getting picked off, but not a lot else. And Sharp just not in the position I think he wants to be, where he's really able to move in, drop some Irradiates on those Defilers, on those Lurkers, and as a result, Soulkey's supply starting to raise. I don't know if Plague has been researched yet, but the Hydralisk Den upgrades are starting to take effect, and he is starting to get in a place where he can start to apply pressure on forward field. And Sharp, this is he's got, I think, 4 science vessels somewhere. So he's got 4 science vessels out in the field, which is okay. He's starting to grow that count up. But otherwise, he just does not have a lot of Medic Marine coverage. He has 0 map control. He's got a Pocket Marines bottom right. Soulkey could very easily take an additional base, take additional gas if he wants to. He could very easily assault that 9 o'clock base if he can make his way across the map. Finally, we see the science vessels moving up. They've got, what, 1 Irradiate? That was actually great positioning here by Sharp overall to get in position to go ahead and deny this 12 o'clock base rapidly. So 1 Overlord going to get taken out. At the very least going to be able to deny that gas, but more Zerglings moving out. The Lurkers in position going to crush the Medic Marine, so a counterattack moving across the field. And keep in mind, there's still this ramp, which Lurkers can easily defend, and I think we're seeing a hold position Lurker. I'm not sure where. It looks like mid-map here at kind of an off position, and that was kind of the odd positioning in the map that I was talking about, where Sharp not having the science vessels and losing some additional Medic Marines. More Radiates dropping at a necessity as the Lurkers, the Hydra Lurk, very, very close to the natural expansion of Sharp right this second. He's got, looks like a healthy 6 science vessels, but a Defiler moving out. Looks like, I don't know if Plague has been, I gotta assume that Plague has been researched here. So now it's gonna be, Artosis rants all the time about how difficult it is to play against this style, but this is a very dangerous situation indeed, because we've got additional bases that are being established on the map for Soulkey. He's got total map control right here, and I don't think Sharp just has the resources to push back against this. Maybe, yeah, there's Plague. So I was about to say, maybe he doesn't have Plague research, because I would have expected it drop by now, but there we see it drop. 2 science vessels, very weak. Let's see if the Hydralisk switch targets and target fire. It looks like they're not going to. I don't know if those Mutalisks have been taken out in the meantime or not. Some medic Marines now patrolling. They want to go ahead and grab that bottom right-hand base, and I missed this. A lurker attack with a Defiler support, easily able to take out that bunker at the 9 o'clock, so disruption mining right there. A dropship attempt, I also missed that. A dropship at the 12 o'clock location, creating some interruption, mostly damaging the evolution chamber. Still a very healthy drone count overall. The Mutalisks look like that have been preserved or there throughout. This hatchery, is it going to complete? Yeah, it's going to be a cancellation bottom right, but this 11 o'clock hatchery looks like it might finish. We have a lot of lurker Hydralisk laying mid-map. Some Firebats cutting between point A and point B, and this is a great distractionary attack as the secondary attack force makes its way to that 11 o'clock base, maybe to interrupt, but this army falls very, very rapidly, but at a position that looks like the science vessels have spotted that 11 o'clock, and now Soulkey needs to hurry up and get there. Granted, he's got the 3 bases. Ooh, battlecruiser out. He's got the 3 bases, but he does need to go ahead and... ooh, it looks like he's going to sack that 11 o'clock rather than continue to push troops in. And Sharp now looking more like himself, having a lot of different positional attacks, continuing to move some medic Marines to pin troops to the front and cut off reinforcements. And this is a critical base for him to wipe out, to deny Soulkey that additional gas. The worker count actually even. Some medic Marines getting wiped out, and this is going to turn into a real starvation match as the main just about mined out for Sharp. His natural expansion is still looking healthy. He still hasn't reestablished his 9 o'clock, but he's basically mining at one base. Hydralisks now with +2 carapace. Let's try to look at the upgrade. We got +3 weapons, +1 armor, so they're still at an upgrade advantage, I believe, overall, especially with medic support, but there's no medic support right this second, so that's wiped out. But critically, Soulkey's still been sitting on 3 gas. He hasn't managed to get past that 3 gas. Somehow hasn't just completely run over. This is really a testament to Sharp overall, and having the aggressive tactics over of just the multi-pronged attack. Starting to move out. He's still in a lot of trouble, though. Hasn't been able to establish an additional base. Is even in workers overall. The upgrades are starting to mount for Soulkey. Although he is playing a little bit more of a... He hasn't gotten a lot of big plagues off. Some science vessels now falling mid-map. I'm not seeing some Defiler support. There's the Defiler. Very quickly wiped out here. And Soulkey really hasn't moved forward, grabbed a 4th base. He hasn't managed to push up to the point where he's got a supply lead as of yet overall. And Sharp now starting to move out. He's somehow managed to salvage enough resources off 2 bases to get a couple battle cruisers out. He's managed to preserve them. I like that he's preserved them and kept them. He's using them tactically. I see a lot of Terrans will just throw them out there, and essentially the goal is to get them scourged down or force something along those lines. I like that he's kind of using them a little bit more strategically. Soulkey positioning up to go ahead and retake that 11 o'clock, this time getting lurkers in the forward position. Irradiate's being dropped to soften up those Hydralisks on the high ground. It's going to morph to lurker to just be a little bit of a defensive irradiate ball. Another science vessel falling, and the medics too far forward. That was a big expenditure, losing those medics. Secondary attack force trying to go along that right-hand alley and engage an attack right there. Firebats able to, or getting separated from the Ling targets they really want to engage on. The Zerglings look like they're going to clean up a little of that attack force, and some additional Dark Swarm is going to force back everything else. But that is, we do have a long defensive line now for Soulkey, where he's got to defend all the way from his natural expansion all the way up to the 11 o'clock. And so Defiler's got to be between point A and point B. Sharp making sure that there wasn't an additional base. Bottom right, we do have a drone huddled in the corner that wants to take that down the line. Another plague only landing on the science vessels. So, and it didn't hit all 3, but able to pick off those Defilers and Lurkers, critical units in this composition, and pull right back out. Looks like the Hydralisks looking to engage again without the... This is actually where losing those medics earlier is turning into a big hit for Sharp, because this works really... Hydralisks do pretty well against Marines, if you remember StarCraft, the original StarCraft, before medics were in the map. Another drop moving into the natural expansion. So that lack of medics was really hurting in those supports. So drop there, able to get a good amount of drones. And I think this is going to be a split force. So the Marine's going to be collected there, but a secondary drop now going into the main. We got Firebats in that attack force. They can shred drones very, very rapidly. So now Soulkey, all of a sudden, is mining, at least temporarily, just off one base. He has that 11 o'clock base. Looks like a lot of drones being transferred up there in a hurry, out of an emergency, but still the attack at the main not being repelled, and that spawning pool might drop, and not having Zerglings in the late game could be a big hit. This is actually a big part of his composition in this army. It looks like he's got enough to finally clean that up. A couple reinforcements from Sharp at the natural expansion knew that irradiate of that defiler turning into a biological weapon for his own species there. The battlecruiser is now moving up. The Darkstorm going to force them back. A single Scourge going to press into that location. Sharp again going for a multi-pronged attack. Again without a lot of medic support once again. And this is where that level 3 Carapace, looks like there's just better upgrades for the Marines overall, so they still should be okay. The drones being transferred a little bit too early. Interesting, there's no lurkers here, but they still don't want to try to go up that ramp. Lurker's going to have to reposition. It looks like the Medic Marines going to be able to sneak up into that 11 o'clock, and I should say Medic Marines. Hydralisks and Lurkers able to kill that lower field, but still denied mining at that 11 o'clock. And the Battlecruiser is now going to sweep in from the south and obliterate everything here. Sharp now starting to take control of this match. Few additional attacks. Yeah, he just keeps sending in little measly attacks as well to slow down any reinforcements. There's no Nidus Canal here, so they're engaging a few troops. It looks like this has been cleaned up by Soulkey overall. Drop back down to 38 troops. Some Firebats trying to pick off that Defiler, not quite able to. And it looks like I might have missed, I think these might have been the same dropships from earlier. I don't think I missed another drop overall. Regardless, 9 o'clock base is up and running for Sharp. He still hasn't grabbed another base. His main is mined out, his natural expansion is mined out, so he's down to 1 base. The 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock are still mining. Natural expansion still has a good amount of resources, although the drone saturation at all these locations, well, actually, it's not too bad. Decent drone saturation. Soulkey starting to move out on the map once again. Looks like that no Defiler alongside. The Defiler is really at the rear of this army. It feels like it's just been pure Hydralisk. Now moving in finally, as I say that, for a Plague on that forward troop count. 3 Science Vessels overhead, untouched, and not a lot of Hydralisks. Looks like the Hydralisk's been kind of split between 2 attack forces. I'm looking for Sharp. Looks like rather than trying to establish another base out in the field, maybe feeling like he wouldn't be able to defend all that territory and keep Soulkey down, loading up yet another drop. Supply counts are dangerously close. They're dead even. Soulkey now taking that slight lead. But again, I haven't really seen a comprehensive, so, ooh, big Plague. I was going to say on that battlecruiser, I guess it just didn't have a lot of health left. Neither player grabbing additional expansions at this stage. So it's really going to come down to who gets the more efficient exchanges overall. And as far as that goes, I think Sharp, we'll see if Sharp gets it. He's snuck some Marines all the way around from that left-hand side. He just seems to be out-positioning Soulkey in a lot of these engagements. So more drones getting picked off and more mining disruption now at that 11 o'clock. One problem for Sharp, though, is as he's not taking additional base, his supply is slowly dropping. And you even see some barracks that are unlit. Not a lot in his bank as well. Soulkey moving out another attack force. Level 3 Carapace is finished. He's still sitting on that level 1 spine overall. No Defilers. Oh, sorry, the Defiler in retreat. An okay Plague on the front. That's going to force them in retreat. And yeah, Sharp, recognizing he just did not have enough to stop Soulkey. His economy was just too strong and wasn't able to grab and hold additional expansion. Is going to call GG right there. But I got to say, Sharp made it interesting. Really enjoyed the positioning all over the map. It's interesting to see that new style of play. I think the pros are still trying to figure it out on both ends. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please give a like and subscribe to StarCastTV. Thank you for listening.